thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're grateful to have you at the second webinar that we are hosting for the year, which is Leading During the COVID-19 Crisis 2.0. This is the follow-on from our webinar from 2 weeks ago. I'm sure, just like me, all of you that joined us last time are excited for part 2. So thank you so much. We're all looking forward to it. Just to introduce our presenter again to you guys, it's Dave Boram. Dave is the CEO and founder of the MCA Resources Group. He is an adaptive leadership consultant, a life and business coach for executives, a professional speaker, and the author of the books Up Where You Belong and Have Do Be Anything You Want. We're very grateful to have Dave, and as I said, we're really looking forward, Dave, to this next part. So thank you very much for giving us of your time. Just to let you guys know, if you do have any questions, you're welcome to type them into the chat box. You will see at the bottom of your screens, there's a chat icon. You just click on that. You can type in your questions there, and then obviously, time permitting, at the end of the presentation, we'll get to some, if not all, of those questions. So you're welcome to type those questions as we go through the presentation. So without any further ado, over to you, Dave. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Randall, and good morning, afternoon, or good evening to everybody joining us, wherever you might be. It's great to be with you again and to be able to share the second part of leading during this COVID-19 crisis. I just want to share with you some of the things that I would like to cover, and that's really just to do a brief recap on our last webinar, to look at the coronavirus, which has been dominating news headlines around the world, but looking ahead, what changes in people behavior do we anticipate as a result of the prolonged lockdown in most countries around the world, as well as a look back at the events of the severe acute respiratory syndrome, given the name SARS, in 2003, because we can learn some good things from there and some of the things that have happened as a result of that. Although it may be not as large a pandemic as the coronavirus, SARS certainly was a huge pandemic which gripped the world at the time. And then what can we do to grow, especially now that most people are confined to their homes, and what is it that we can do as leaders to grow while we're confined and after the lockdowns are all over and done with. So let's start with some of the changes that we can expect moving forward. Some of those have already happened, and they will continue to happen because this is how business is going to start running itself. It's something that we've been pushing for in our trainings for a long time, and that is obviously instituting work from home policies. A lot of companies have been hesitant to do that, but I think now with this coronavirus, it's become a have to, not a need to or want to, but a have to. And so we see a lot of work from home policies coming into place, and that will be obviously the way it's going to happen moving forward as well. And then adjusting to the ongoing business practices, such as the adoption of new tools to aid in collaboration of teams who are now remotely working with each other through maybe Zoom, Microsoft Teams, GoToMeeting, Skype, etc. There are a number of tools that are on the market that will help in the collaboration and bringing people closer together remotely, and therefore being able to work as teams and continue to work as teams. And this will be extremely important. Teams and collaboration will never stop. It's absolutely essential. Therefore, leaders should foster this collaboration and transparency across the network of teams. It's really important that people are able to collaborate together and work together, because that's where we create this intellectual genius, and we come up with new ideas and better ideas and ideas that we can adapt across the organizations. One way to do this is by distributing authority and sharing information. In other words, we cannot continue with this top-down leadership approach. That authority needs to be spread, and more people, or the right people, I should say, need to be given authority to make decisions that need to be made when you're working remotely. So what leaders need to do during a crisis is not predefined response plans, but behaviors and mindsets that will prevent them from overreacting to yesterday's developments and help them look ahead. We have too many leaders that have overreacted to this virus, and I'll explain that in a little while. The hype and the sensationalism that has gone along with the whole pandemic. So in looking at that, and we see what leaders need to do in terms of that, I wanted to share with you the process that we need to make sure that we have people thinking out of the box. I've said this on numerous occasions where I've used the learning revolution. They said the corporate battles of the new digital economy will be more about changing mindsets than about changing. This whole pandemic has created a huge change in mindset. And leaders are having to learn to let go of their authority and start sharing this authority across teams. And we shared that briefly with you in our last session together. So top-down approaches do not work during an unpredictable crisis. You need to develop this network of teams that I spoke about last time. In routine emergencies, experience is perhaps the most valuable quality that leaders bring. But in a novel landscape scale crisis, character is of the utmost importance when it comes to dealing with a crisis like this. And I'm going to share with you why I'm saying that or suggesting that. It's really important that we have leaders of character. And this crisis is going to bring those leaders to the fore quicker than anything else has ever done. So there's just a few important points that I discussed last time, just four that I want to share with you briefly because it's important that we understand it and do that. First one is the elevating leaders during a crisis. In other words, we need to give the right people authority to make decisions that affect their teams wherever they might be. We need to have that. And within those teams as well, there need to be leaders who are able to make decisions, that we don't have to keep on going back to another meeting to make a decision, but where decisions can be made a lot more quickly and with far less bureaucracy. Secondly, we need to understand that the character of leadership comes out in the ability to be calm under pressure and to be optimistic. And what I mean by optimistic or optimism is that they need to be honest and truthful about the situation and about where they are and about their own vulnerability. There are a lot of people that are very scared at the moment. There are a lot of people that are unsure about what's happening. There are a lot of people who are worried about the economy. Please understand, and it's so important for us to understand, that the media will give us all the hype. They will give us all the sensationalism that they want to give us to create this mass hysteria within people. Great leaders stay calm. They stay optimistic. They understand that any crisis we can and will deal with. And I promise you, just like all the other crises that we face in the world, we will get through this and deal with it effectively. And the world will come up a better place. I guarantee you that. Thirdly, in looking at the important points that I want to discuss with you, is demonstrating empathy. It's really, really important that as leaders, we deal with a human tragedy as a first priority. People are not interested in how much you know until they know how much you care. And this is a really important point. Those leaders who cannot demonstrate empathy will not be around for too much longer. We have to understand the human element here, that people are suffering. They're suffering through loss of loved ones. They're suffering through economic hardships at the time. They're suffering through fear and concern and vulnerability, etc., etc. And a character-based leader understands this and is therefore able to empathize and help people move through this crisis together. And the fourth point that is important to mention, and it's extremely important. I'm just having a problem with my presentation, is communicating effectively. In other words, maintaining transparency and providing frequent updates. What do I mean by that? We need to be honest. We need to be transparent about how we're dealing with the virus. how we're dealing with the crisis. And we need to be giving frequent updates. I've always said to people that whenever we go through change, and now we're going through massive change, the most important quality about leadership in change is communication. Communication, communication. And when I say communication, I'm not just talking about talking. I'm talking about being honest, giving frequent, honest, and calculated updates about what the situation is, what our plans are moving forward, etc., etc. Having said that, I just want to share with you some behavioral science. Behavioral science cannot say much about the behavior, obviously, of the coronavirus. However, it can definitely shed some light on the behavior of the people who have to face this threat. So if you look at this, the behavior change induced by the virus of both individuals and institutions is unprecedented. Never in my lifetime have I ever seen anything like this in terms of how people are having to change their behavior. If you look at China, for example, who were the first country to go through this, Chinese people displayed what we call incredible uniformity of behavior. When over 1 billion people staying put at home, almost 100% of those 1 billion people used the mask, diligently washed their hands, and whatever else they considered necessary to avoid the dreaded virus. This is unprecedented, where we have so much uniformity. Now, I do understand that China is a lot different to a lot of other countries because they're used to being dictated to. They're used to being treated with authority. But it's so important to understand that this was really important for them to be able to start moving past the virus. The next thing that I want to talk about in terms of that, once again, I'm having some issues with my presentation here, just bear with me a second, is the fear of the unknown. And when we look at the fear of the unknown, it's built into our reptilian brains, into our primitive brains. The unknown virus, with all its alarming expansion, inevitably makes us ultra cautious. Leaders need to overcome this inherent fear of the unknown. What I tend to find, whenever leaders don't quite know what's going on, they stop. They almost hold back and they stop doing things. We need to make sure that we're continuing with business, that we're making things happen. We can't sit back and say, well, let's wait. We need to continue to make things happen. It's absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. When confronted with the change, people tend to become cautious. They will therefore rather gravitate to the known and familiar than the new and the mysterious. A leader's task, therefore, is to shake the people out of their unconscious thinking and make them take notice or engage in what we call the rational brain or the system 2 brain, as behavioral economists would say. When people stay embedded in this reptilian brain, they are not able to think rationally. And therefore, great leaders stay in their rational brain. They make logical decisions. Some of those decisions might be incorrect, but they make good decisions and they try to make good decisions. I mentioned last time that I've been very impressed with our president in South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, and the way that he's handled this crisis, the manner in which he's done it, his demeanor, the fact that he's consulted with various people from different medical fraternities, etc., different leaders, the opposition, etc., and got the buy-in from everyone to take an approach to how South Africa deals with this virus. Then we have what we call availability bias in behaviors. If you go back to China, you'll see that over 700,000 people die in China every month, as one would expect with such a large population. While most of those people die of old age, many die prematurely of diseases and accidents. Rationally, we would therefore say and be more concerned about diabetes and coronary disease than about the coronavirus. 60,000 people a month die of accidents and injuries alone. However, currently all our fears, our concerns are focused around the 2019 COVID virus. The behavioral scientists call this the availability bias. Marketing also often makes use of the availability bias to catch consumers' attention. Therefore, you're going to see in the media a bombardment of advertising and heavy media pressure could make the people think that the virus is far more serious than it actually is. I really think that if we had to put our resources to helping those that are most vulnerable, in other words, people who have very weak immune systems, like the elderly and maybe HIV and people that are weak or suppressed immune systems, those are the people that are most vulnerable to this virus, as far as I know, and from the information that I've been able to glean from the various medical practitioners. The next one is to respect for authority and social herding. What tends to happen is humans have a natural respect for authority, particularly when they're faced with the unknown. We readily follow the authoritative figures of the government, the medical profession, and communities. People therefore remain cooped in their homes, not just because of fear of infection, but also because of the obedience to the authority. Additionally, our natural tendency is to do what everywhere else is doing, and that's what we call social herding, also contributes to the uniformity of behaviors. The power of stories. Stories have a strong sway over our minds. Media often plays stories of people who won $1 million lottery or stumbled across a similar unique fate, and never about the millions of lottery buyers who never won a dime. Media today is bursting with stories of a 44-year-old woman or a 65-year-old man who unwittingly caught the virus. We also need to hear stories of people who have recovered from the virus, who do not get the infection despite facing similar risks. We don't hear enough of those stories. We're hearing all the negative stories, which is typical of the sensationalism of the media. Positive stories will calm the mind and help us make better decisions to return to normalcy. Most people who get this virus will never ever be infected or never die from it. Most people never ever die from it. Yes, they will feel the symptoms of the flu. They will experience some difficulty maybe in breathing. Some people won't. Some people won't even know that they've got it. But the media will make sure that we are so scared and we get so caught up in all this hype that it almost creates a paralysis within the communities. Then we talk about probability weighting when it comes to behavioral science. Research shows that we tend to overestimate small probabilities. Though the probability of catching the virus is extremely low, we tend to exaggerate the risk, and the threat looms large in our minds. Many industries exist on the strength of probability weighting. No one will buy a lottery if they did not exaggerate the infinitesimal chance of winning the jackpot. None would buy insurance if the fear of loss did not appear much bigger than the real chance of the disaster. And then we look at hindsight bias. What do we mean by that? When the virus is dead and gone, the Chinese will again buzz with their customary optimism and energy, and the world will again welcome them and their money. Many who worried to death during this outbreak will merrily succumb to the hindsight bias and proclaim with a broad smile, "I always knew it would be short-lived and would leave no long-term impact on our lives." If we look at SARS and when that happened, there was no reference point for business and brands when it came to navigating around the high-profile health crisis that occurred and incurred human costs and strained supply chains across the globe due to an economy that is much interconnected with China. But today, 17 years later, it's still possible to learn, to take a leaf out of the SARS book as the current situation plays out. If you look, for example, in that fateful year, marked as the year of e-commerce emergence in mainland China, when the crisis provided an unexpected turning point for faster e-commerce adoption. The country's long confinement in 2003 also boosted Alibaba, then resembling more business-to-business directory. Spurred by then Chief Executive Officer Jack Ma, the core team brainstormed a new idea that would eventually evolve into Daboa, the company's business-to-consumer e-commerce powerhouse and one of the wealthiest organizations in the world today. The research firm Kantar TNS expects that the current coronavirus outbreak will further strengthen the position of e-commerce and delivery service. And that delivery service will especially be in fresh foods as consumers try to avoid traditional wet markets. I also want to stress that there's going to be so many opportunities, business opportunities coming forward. If we look at our young generation, what we call the Y generation, most of these people in what we call the Z group are so involved in entrepreneurial ideas that gigging and doing assignments for companies around the world will be more what's going to happen. Great opportunities will come out of this. More people will be working from home. More businesses will operate. Forget about these stories about corporations trying to dominate business and annihilate small business, etc., etc. I guarantee you that the birth of small business will become huge after the crisis is over. A lot of focus will be given to the mental health and creating a stress-free work environment. Poor mental health is one of the biggest issues in the workplace today. It causes a loss of over 70 million working days every year. The top 5 stress symptoms are fatigue, sleeplessness, aches and pains, anxiety, weight gain. Desk-bound employees are one of the prime sufferers of mental illnesses. They're engrossed in the rat race of the corporate world that they often neglect their mental health. The result is a bunch of stressed employees in the workplace. I believe that this virus has given people the opportunity to step back, to start looking at their lives, to stop, to reflect, to think about the things that are genuinely important to them, and then to start looking at different ways of dealing with it. Additionally, surveys and case studies have also revealed some very appalling data. Mental health of employees is a lot worse than one may think. Good news is it brought with it the wind of change and awareness. As a result, people are now becoming more aware and concerned about taking care of their mental well-being. The stigma associated with mental health is also slowly fading away. And especially in Africa, where we have this big concern when we talk about mental health, that this person's got to be out of their mind. We're not talking about people that are necessarily having to deal with being mad. We're talking about people that are dealing with anxiety, worry, fear, insecurity, dealing with bipolar, dealing with all these different depression, etc., etc. These things are real. They're things that we have to deal with. We're losing so many people to high productive opportunities because of mental health. Employees and managers can play a special role in supporting mental health in the workplace. The aim should be to address the issue, create awareness, identify the factors triggering stress, and taking the necessary steps to create a healthier work environment. So, what can we do during this COVID-19 virus? Well, my good friend Stefan sent me this particular slide here, which I thought was excellent. And here we can see that we have the fear zone, where unfortunately most people spend their time. We have the learning zone, and we have the growth zone. So if you look at the fear zone, I grab food, toilet paper, and medicine that I don't need. That's why we saw an absolute madness when people rushed to the shops and bought everything out. So everybody goes wonkers, they go mad. That's the reptilian brain. I spread emotion related to fear and anger. So I get involved in sending out all this negative information and so on. I complain frequently. I forward all the messages I receive. So you're going to find that more and more messages are going around about this and about that and this opinion and that opinion and so on. I get mad easily. Now let me explain why people get involved in all of that. When you don't have goals, when you don't have the vision in your life, you've got nothing else to do but to fear. When you have goals and you're moving and you're starting to learn and grow, things start to change. The focus isn't on the fear. The focus is on developing yourself. And I promise you, the emotional change, the mental health change is unbelievable. So you start giving up what you can't control. You stop compulsively consuming what hurts me, from food to news. You identify your emotions. You become aware of the situation and think how to act. You evaluate information before spreading something false. I recognize that we are all trying to do our best. And then as we move into the growth zone, where we start moving out of our comfort zone, so to speak, and we start growing ourselves, we think of others and we see how we can help them, because the focus isn't on you any longer. You make your talents available to those who need them. You live in the present and focus on the future. Okay, you manage to empathize with yourself and with others. You thank and appreciate others. You keep a happy emotional state and you spread hope. You look for a way to adapt to new changes. You practice quietude, stillness, patience, relationships, and creativity. So what can we do to grow? Well, I want to share with you just quickly 8 things that successful people do before 8 a.m. in the morning. 8 things that I've been practicing for years, and I think that maybe you might, and a lot of you might be doing this already, but I'm going to share it with you because it's really important. Pray and meditate. This is extremely important, and leaders need to be able to do this. Number 2 is rehydrate. When you get up in the morning, drink water. 3, go through your affirmations. And if you don't have affirmations, please create them. Put them on your phone if you want to. Put them on your voice messaging so that you can listen to them on a regular basis. But go through your affirmations. You want to feed your mind with positive, powerful information. Revisit your values, your mission, and your vision. Revisit your goals. And if you don't have goals, go back to your values, mission, and vision and create them. Number 6, write down 5 things that you're grateful for. Every single day, 5 things that you're grateful for, the attitude of gratitude. Read from a self-development book. Always read, even when it's 3 or 4 pages, please read. And number 8, move your body, even if it's for just 20 minutes a day. Go for a walk or do some exercise. So 9 important life questions to ask yourself. And maybe, as I say, you might not be able to write all these down, but we will obviously be sending the recording of this to you, and so you can then revisit them. But just to go through those questions quickly. No matter how far we journey in life, there are always questions that swirl around in our minds. They could be self-reflection questions, questions about life that make us think, life questions to ask yourself to find out who we are or what direction we are headed in. So here are the questions that I'd like you to think about. What phase of your life are you in currently? In other words, what is this phase busy teaching you? Did you learn what you need to carry on to the next phase? Are you unlearning? What has brought you the most joy and the most challenge, and how has that shaped you? Question 2, what are you holding on to that is limiting you? In other words, what are you creating toxic space for? What are you allowing to rent space in your head? What positive thoughts about yourself can you focus on? Those are your affirmations. Number 3, have you cared and nourished yourself? How can you tend to yourself more with compassion? How can you create more room to just be? Are you taking care of your needs and desires? Do you say yes when you should say no? How can you love yourself more today? Are you practicing self-care enough? Question number 4, what mindsets are you pursuing? What positive thoughts about yourself can you focus on? Is it yours or somebody else's thoughts? What can you learn from these thoughts? What beliefs are attached to those thoughts? How long have you had these beliefs? Where do these beliefs come from? Have these beliefs served their purpose? Number 5, what do you want to release from your life? Are you ready to heal or release this? Number 6, what am I grateful for right now? What are you thankful to have that others do not have? What relationships are you thankful for? How can you be thankful for the challenges that you experience? How can you be thankful for the changes that have occurred in your life? What insights have you gained that you are grateful for? What do you appreciate and why? How can you say thank you more? What opportunities do you have that you are thankful for? Is there anything you are taking for granted that you're grateful for? Number 7, what are you afraid of? What are you so scared of that will bring so much pain to your life? How can you work on those fears? Number 8, what is the meaning of life? In other words, what is your purpose? So many people wake up to self-realization in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s and realize they don't know why they got here and how they got here. And they know for sure this is not where they wanted to be years ago. In other words, it's amazing how many people put their ladder up against the wall. They climb that ladder. They get to the top of the ladder and then discover it had been put against the wrong wall. Number 9, how do you set goals and what goals should you set? What can you change to do better to support your goals? Is this the direction that you want to be moving in? Are your recent choices helping you to be happy? I want to just finish off our webinar this morning with a poem that was written by the poet Kathleen O'Mara in 1869 after a plague-devastated Ireland in the late 1860s. I find this extremely appropriate for us today. Something lovely. And people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played and learned new ways of being and were still and listened more deeply. Someone meditated, someone prayed, someone danced, someone met their own shadow, and people started thinking differently, and people healed. And in the absence of people who lived in ignorant ways, dangerous, mindless, and heartless, the earth began to heal. And when the danger ended and people found themselves, they grieved for the dead. And they made new choices and dreamed of new visions and created new ways to live and healed the earth fully, just as they had been healed. And I really believe, my friends, that this is a great opportunity for people to heal themselves from their fears, from their mental fatigue, from their negative inputs, and to really start focusing on what they are grateful for the opportunities that are there in abundance and will be in abundance, and for the great life that we have been all being given. So please, if any of you are interested in looking at the MCA Executive Club, where we look at how to advance people in their careers, move them to being recognized as great leaders in their organizations, communities, their countries and beyond. where people have access to leadership and training and development through various leaders around the world, have access to monthly live webinar trainings, virtual classrooms, and have access to online leadership training on a regular basis. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Dave. That was fantastic. I, for one, really enjoyed that and found it very insightful. So thank you so much, especially, obviously, it's very pertinent during the time that we are in, and it's a wonderful time to start thinking differently for all of us. So thank you so much for that. So as Dave said, if you do have any questions, please type that into the chat box. We'll address them now. I think no one typed any questions during the presentation because they're obviously just listening so intently to you, Dave. If there are any questions, please share them with us now in the chat box, and we'll get Dave to answer them for you, or he'll try to answer them for you. While you're also busy thinking about those questions, if any of you would like some more information on the MCA Executive Club that Dave just mentioned to us now, please put in your email address as well into the chat box, and we'll send you some more information on that, as well as if you would like the recording of this webinar, we can send you the link to this recording. If you would also just put your email address in there, and we'll get that sent to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Okay, Dave, we do have one question from the username fpardy. So I don't know what the person's name is, but the username is fpardy. They asked, will it be good to realign your existing goals to suit the disruptions that you perceive after the virus?
Yeah, Francis, that's an excellent question. Yes, obviously, you know, we've always said that goals, you need to adapt. Leadership is all about being able to adapt to the situation, to the circumstances. And if you feel that you need to adapt your goals and realign them in order to deal with the situation that you're in at the present moment, by all means. I think it's really important that we are able to be flexible. When we speak about decision-making and we use those 4 paradoxical principles of decision-making, we said that we have to be flexible, and it's really important. So yes, by all means, it's important to be able to adapt.
Thanks, Dave. Francis, I hope that's helped to answer your question. Thanks, Amanda and Emmanuel. And now we got your emails. Thank you for that. So we'll make sure that we get this sent to you. Yeah, we're getting lots of email addresses, which is great. It's always great to go over this again. Repetition is one of the best ways to learn.
Good. If there aren't any questions then, I just want to say thank you to you all. It's been wonderful to be able to share with you again. Please tune in to our next webinar. We will let you know the date and the time and the subject and the presenter. So please stay with us, stay in tune, keep your questions coming. If any of you would like to send us emails, we can answer any questions that you might have, any personal issues, any concerns that you might have, and so on. Please just get in touch with us, and we're there to serve you and to work with you. So thanks very much for being with us. Please, if you haven't already in any of your classes with us, or if you've never been on a class with us, please just join with us and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and on LinkedIn. Thank you very much. Reynold, back to you.
Yeah, sure. We'd just like to thank everyone for attending today. We hope you really enjoyed it. We've got the emails. I see we've got a few emails there, so I've made sure that I've saved all of those, and we'll make sure that we get the information and the recording of the webinar to you. So thank you so much, everyone. As Dave said, we're going to be having another one quite soon in the next couple of weeks. So make sure you pay attention to your emails. We'll be sending out more information regarding that shortly. Have a fantastic week, guys, and enjoy the rest of your day. Once again, thank you so much, and take care. Cheers.